has discovered.
There are some things like cobras and scorpions for which we don't have to look out in France, obviously, but it's okay. We have injections here, so we are safe.
The fermentation is just over, and we should release this in the market in another 7-8 months.
The wine may be tasty, but will it really go well with Indian food? The Grover family certainly thinks so.
We ourselves always drink wine with Indian food, kebabs, tandoori chicken. I always drink a red wine with that. On the fish side, you go white, and I believe that the rosé with even spicy Indian food, it survives it.
The challenge will be to convince Indian buyers who aren't in the habit of drinking white wine with their curry or red with their roti. But with changing Indian lifestyles, Grover hopes to sell 1 million bottles a year by the year 2000.
We have to promote and educate the Indian consumer. We always like to say we want to bring the grace back into living.
Okay, the first course is soup. This is your soup spoon. What spoon is this? Does anyone know?
In order to fit right in at 4-star restaurants and 5-star hotels, these upwardly mobile young Indians can come here to the American Barbizon School in New Delhi.
Never fiddle with your cutlery or your crockery or your glassware. Your steward's going to do everything for you. Right? You don't have to say, well...
The classes run smoothly, with the exception of a type of interruption common to India.
You could drink soup as well if you wanted to.
Power failures.
Brilliant.
Today we're going to talk to you about executive grooming session of our course at Barbizon today. You need to have yourself as properly groomed as possible.
Most of the students here are aspiring young models, but a significant number come to learn how to dress for success and use the right fork in the new world of the multinational corporations that are flocking to India. Barbizon's Jyotika Jalani.
There is a great need for this staff to interact with a foreign clientele at every step in their job. And if they're well groomed and they're aware of certain international business etiquette skills, it definitely would help them.
Barbizon sees a big future here and has plans to expand to other Indian cities soon, in spite of the interruptions.
Most of the change happening in India today has been in the big cities. It's a story of big companies moving into new markets, of better living standards for the growing urban middle class. But even in the most out-of-the-way small towns, there are signs that things are picking up.
Drive a few hours through the mountains of Rajasthan and you'll eventually come to the town of Falna. You could also take the New Delhi to Ahmedabad train. It stops in Falna, even though it's not listed on the schedule. Falna is a small town, but since the nearest cities of any size are 2 to 3 hours away, Falna has become a commercial center for the surrounding countryside. Falna is in many ways a microcosm of the changes taking place in India. Like any town, it has its wealthy neighborhood where the rich have their villas, and a few hundred yards away, its slums where the poor have their tents and shacks. It has 2 or 3 main streets with stores and street vendors. And increasingly, the rural and the old-fashioned is giving way to the urban and new. Even in this far-off corner of India, enterprising businessmen are profiting from the latest trends sweeping the country. Abdul Rahman runs Falna Television. The 70-year-old Rahman used to make transistor radios until he decided that the future was in satellite TV dishes.
How are you, sir? Oh, fine, very fine. Fine? Yeah. Thank you. Give me a high five.
Rahman had no training and little education. But with the help of some foreign books and magazines, he figured out how to build the dishes. Initially, Rahman saw little reason to hurry.
Actually, this was not in my mind, so that I will get so much market. So I did my experiment work very slowly.
After 5 years, the first dish was ready, just at the right time.
Fortunately, when I completed my prototype, the market was very big. I earned a lot of money.
Now Rahman turns out 2,000 dishes a year. 10 employees assemble the dishes here. Another 40 workers, many of them family members, make the components at workshops in their homes. Abdul Rahman sells 80% of his satellite dishes right here in Falna. More than 2/3 of the Indian population live in rural areas, and farm incomes have been rising steadily. So although people still come to Falna to buy oranges or nuts or cloth for saris, these days they're just as likely to buy satellite dishes or televisions or washing machines. Appliance stores are a growth industry in Falna, with advertisements covering the town's walls and satellite dishes seeming to sprout from half the rooftops.
There's demand in the market. The customers' demand is increased due to their larger earnings.
Local shopkeepers aren't the only ones who profit from higher rural incomes. So does the owner of the bus company that brings the shoppers to town.
If a person wants to purchase a TV, he will have to come to Falna. And after purchasing the TV, he will have to go back to his home. If someone wants to purchase a washing machine, he will have to come to Falna. And other luxury items he will have to purchase from the city and go back to the rural area.
Khalsa is a Sikh word for independent. It's a good name for a company that competes with the government for a living. From his office in front of the bus yards, Jakhtar Singh rides herd on his stable of buses. Singh bought his first bus in 1951. Today, Khalsa is Rajasthan's largest bus company, with 135 buses and more riders than the government bus line. Khalsa makes money in spite of the government's monopoly on the best routes. While the government routes are direct and well paved, Khalsa often has to travel longer distances over dirt roads that it also has to maintain. Jakhtar Singh longs for the day when he'll be allowed to compete freely with the government on whatever routes he chooses.
If the government opens every route to the private sector, the people will choose the better service provided by the private company on the roadways. Now there's no chance, really. The public has to travel on rotten government buses.
Khalsa Motors is a family business, and every day around 2 o'clock, the family gathers for lunch. Jakhtar's younger brothers have been with him from the beginning. His son Omkar plans to get an MBA, then return to help develop new ventures for Khalsa. The family already has other businesses, such as the town's only movie theatre and what will soon be the town's only hotel.
For Falna, what I've done is help the foreigners to stay here. The executives of multinational companies, I've built a hotel for them. Tourists will also come. Foreign culture will come. There will be accommodations for them, with bathing facilities, central air conditioning, bar facilities. I'm doing everything for them. For the future, people need to be able to come and go. This is what I will make possible. With my hotel, I'm making plans for this area's demands and requirements.
Jakhtar Singh's hotel may be a year or two from completion, but multinational companies are already in Falna. One of them is Futex, a joint venture between a Taiwanese firm and an Indian partner. Futex makes umbrella parts. That might seem an unlikely product in one of the driest parts of India, but most of the production is destined for Bombay and Calcutta. With 2 or 3 other umbrella parts companies already in business here, Falna is well on its way to becoming the umbrella parts capital of India. Local umbrella executive Vinod Chopra and Taiwanese Carl Chen run Footex jointly, and their companies both benefit from the venture. The Taiwanese company enjoys labor costs that are only 1/10 those of Taiwan, as well as access to the huge Indian market. Meanwhile, the Indian partner gains financing and more modern technology. Before the economic reforms, a joint venture like Footex would not have been possible. Now, with more liberal rules for foreign investment, a major new business is pumping money into the local economy. Older businesses in Falna are also seeing the impact of economic reform. Shivagrico is the town's largest employer, with 300 workers at 2 Falna plants. The company makes simple agricultural tools like pickaxes, which it sells in India and abroad. The means of production look very much like they did 30 years ago, when Shivagrico first started out here. That's because modernizing wasn't worth the time or trouble, thanks to the heavy hand of government. Endless red tape, high taxes, and heavy duties on imported steel left the company with little incentive to invest in new plant and equipment. Now, import duties have been slashed, export profits are totally free from tax, and government controls have been lifted. As a result, Shivagrico has the cash and the freedom to invest in this new structure. When it's completed, it will house a new blast furnace to recycle steel scrap and provide jobs for another 100 workers. It marks a new era for Managing Director V.M. Jain.
Earlier, we would never think of expanding our business. We would never dream. Today, the entire outlook is different.
Falna may not be a media capital like Bombay or a political capital like Delhi. But on a smaller scale, all this economic activity adds up. A new cottage industry, 90 new jobs here, 100 new jobs there, the town's first small hotel. Growth is putting money in people's pockets and changing the face of Falna. And someday, it may put Falna on the map, or at least on the train schedule. The changes taking place in India are dramatic. But we need to stress that for the most part, they're only affecting the well-to-do and the growing middle class. Almost half of India's 900 million people are poor, and almost 250 million of them still live in the kind of abject poverty that has plagued India for decades. For some poor families, even progress is a mixed blessing, as yesterday's luxuries become today's necessities.
Good evening.
The widow Khartoon lives in this one-room house with a daughter, 4 sons and several grandchildren. She bought this color TV for 10,000 rupees, about 1 year's wages for an Indian laborer. Khartoon pays in installments of 100 rupees a month. That's the price she has to pay for keeping up with the Mehtas and the Chaudhrys.
Even if there's no food in the house, I have to pay the installments every month. It's worth a lot. The children used to go to the neighbors' houses and watch, but sometimes people would throw the children out and close the door. They didn't like that. This was bad for our social standing. Now when my children's more privileged friends come here to sit and watch TV, they say, "Man, these people also have a color TV." So an upper class has been formed here of color TV owners. So I have to reduce my household expenses, and even if I can't get vegetables sometimes, I have to give them their 100 rupees.
It's It's been over a century since Mark Twain described the Indian laundryman as someone who breaks rocks with your shirt. For generations, the dhobis, as they're called, have washed household laundry on riverbanks or at dhobi ghats like this one along the Yamuna River in Delhi. But now, their livelihood is being threatened.
Day by day, conditions are getting worse for me. Why? Machines have been put in.
Just a few short years ago, washing machines were rare and business was good for the dhobis. Now the machines are becoming common among the growing middle class, and a tradition going back many generations is dying out.
What will the future be? In the future, I'll get out of this work. It's finished. When I don't get work, what can I do?
Like the dhobis, Indian businesses face challenges to their survival from tough foreign competitors newly allowed into the domestic market. Bajaj Auto is India's leading manufacturer of motor scooters, turning out 1 million vehicles a year, second only to Honda worldwide. Foreign competition is nothing new for Bajaj. While many other Indian industries were protected by trade barriers until the 1990s, the domestic scooter market was opened in 1986. Major players like Honda, Suzuki and Yamaha all rushed in, but Chairman Rahul Bajaj isn't fazed by his competitors.
And all of them are doing well. Of course, there are 5 others, and those 5 put together have half the Indian market, which is a large enough market for them. We alone have half the market, which is not large enough for us, but we shall somehow manage.
To meet the competition, Bajaj brought in new foreign technology, expanded production and reduced costs. It also began a popular ad campaign.
Hamara Bajaj, Hamara Bajaj. Hamara means ours. So it's our Bajaj. We have 9 million of our Bajaj two-wheelers on the roads. That's ours. That's yours, ours, is India's. It's an Indian company. We are proud to be an Indian company, 100% owned.
In the old days, Bajaj never even bothered to advertise. There was no need. Licenses protected Indian producers from domestic competitors, and trade barriers protected them from foreign ones. Whatever they made, they sold. Demand was far greater than the supply. Some Indian producers still miss those protected markets, but Rahul Bajaj isn't one of them.
Would you like to see India go back to the days of protectionism and licenses?
Of course not, thank God not. I mean, we were tired and sick of socialism, controls and regulations. This is a breath of fresh air. My company and my colleagues in the company used to go to Delhi for an industrial license, expansion license, an import license every day, every week. It was a nuisance. And that leads to delay. That gives rise to corruption. Now, to import anything I want, I don't need government permission. To expand, to make what I want, I don't need government permission.
That's the good news. But the flip side is that bloated and inefficient companies now have to gear up to meet foreign competition.
You can't sit back on your backside, then the others will overtake you. And this would happen in every industry, including the two-wheeler industry. If we do not improve and continue to improve, we are going to be overtaken. But I think Indian industry now recognizes you either perform or you perish.
The signs of foreign competition are everywhere in India, thanks to a new openness to foreign imports and foreign investment. Coca-Cola and Pepsi, for example, were forced to leave India in the 1970s. Now they're back, and on every street corner. Whether in soft drinks or cereal, telephones or financial services, foreign firms are flooding into India. They come to take advantage of low-cost labor and the vast and growing Indian market. Leading the charge are American firms. Recently, for example, American companies invested more money in India in 1 year than in the half-century since independence.
Compared to other emerging markets, India has 2 strengths, both inherited from the British. For one, people here speak English, a plus in the global economy. For another, India is the world's largest democracy. There are free elections, a parliament to make laws, and a legal system to carry them out. This sets India apart from other emerging economies like China, where the decisions of the state are more arbitrary. It can take the Indian government a while to pass a new law, but once it's passed, it's less likely to be undone.
Foreign investors also have other ways of betting on India's future. Although the building is modern, the Bombay Stock Exchange is Asia's oldest stock market, dating all the way back to 1875. It was a sleepy place for most of that time, but things took off in 1993, when foreign institutional investors were allowed into the game. In 1995, the pandemonium of this open trading floor was replaced by a modern computer system, so today's action takes place in the brokerage houses nearby. At DSP, partly owned by Merrill Lynch, Managing Director Stephen Van Wilberding sees reason for optimism.
Well, if you look at the growth rate of the stock performance since the beginning of 1991, 25% compounded growth every year. Compare that with the United States, 10% growth. If you take a 5-year horizon and bet on the growth, then in my personal opinion, you can't go wrong.
Other money managers seem to share his enthusiasm. Billions of dollars of foreign investment have been flowing into the Indian market. 7,000 stocks trade on India's 5 main exchanges, with a total market capitalization of $140 billion.
There is a very strong conviction that the reforms will continue. The environment is, very, very strong. So yes, definitely, Merrill Lynch is bullish on India.
Although most people here are bullish on India, obstacles to progress remain. Religious strife has been a fact of life here for centuries, pitting Hindu against Muslim. Conflict continues in the northern state of Kashmir, where rebels have demanded independence. And there have been incidents like the suspension of the Enron power plant project in 1995, reminders that local politics can muddy the welcome mat to foreign investors. But in spite of the bumps in the road, India is likely to stay on the path of reform. If any place symbolizes the new India, it's Bangalore. This southern city of green trees, broad streets and temperate climate has always been one of India's most hospitable urban centers. It remains so, although growth is having a dramatic impact on the city's character.
When I spent my summers here as a young girl, Bangalore was a sleepy little town, better known as a pensioner's paradise, where military officers and government workers retired to enjoy their twilight years in peace and quiet. But as you can see, the Bangalore of today has turned into something quite different.
The pensioners have gone to bed, but Bangalore is just waking up. Some people shop, some people stroll, and some people go on a crawl. A pub crawl, that is. Pubs and nightclubs are virtually unknown in the rest of India, but Bangalore is famous for its pub scene. While the pubs give Bangalore its flavor, it isn't beer that drives this city, it's business. Bangalore is booming, and the streets that were once quiet and green are now bustling with traffic. This town has become a mecca for people from all over India, most of them young. From the students at the local universities to the married couples flocking here to seek their fortunes. They come to Bangalore because this is the Silicon Valley of India. Drive a half hour from downtown and you'll come to one of India's major industrial centers. It's 7:30 a.m. and workers are arriving at the factory gate for the start of their shift. But instead of car parts or raw steel, these workers deal in bits and bytes, computer software. India is one of the world's leading exporters of software, second only to the United States. And this company, Infosys, is the #1 software exporter in India, with global clients like Reebok, Nestle and General Electric.
When we went 10 years ago, American companies would be very, very nice. They would give us a good cup of tea, but there was a sense of skepticism we could make out. During the last 10 years, we have been able to effect a paradigm shift from why India to one of when India, at what cost India, and how India. There's a canteen on the first floor, dining hall on the first floor, and on the second floor too.
Today, Chairman Narayana Murthy routinely entertains foreign visitors, like these Canadian venture capitalists touring the company's new headquarters.
We find with our software companies in Canada, that at the canteen a lot of creative work happens.
Oh yes.
Yes. Do you have a ping pong table?
We have a ping pong table. We are building the basketball court there.
Infosys has been growing rapidly. In fact, growth here at the new headquarters is literally going through the roof. Infosys was founded in 1981 with a stake of $300. Now the company is worth $130 million. And the Indian software industry as a whole has been growing at rates of about 50% a year.
Our expectations are that we will be a billion-dollar industry by 1997, and we expect to be about $5 billion by 2000.
The key to India's success in this field lies in its workforce. These software engineers are to India what oil is to Saudi Arabia, a vital resource and a major competitive advantage in the world economy.
We have a large pool of highly educated, well-trained technical manpower. These people come from the middle class, they understand hard work, commitment, and they can provide world-class quality software. There is another advantage, that is, amongst all the countries which are in the area of software export, India happens to be the most cost competitive. Generally, I would say the cost advantage could be anywhere from 40% to 80%, depending on the situation, the type of application, the size of the project, etc.
Many of the employees here at Infosys are typical of the young professionals who are flocking to Bangalore from all across India. Geeta Kannan is an associate marketing manager at Infosys. She and her husband Kannan live in this 2-bedroom apartment with Geeta's mother. Today, like every Sunday, they're preparing a special meal. Geeta and Kannan came here 3 years ago, seeking greater opportunities than they could find in their hometown of Coimbatore.
Coimbatore is a very small town. I mean, it's a textile mill town, and there's not much of opportunity there. So both of us decided after a couple of years that it's right that we move on and look for better jobs.
In no time at all, Kannan found work as a sales executive at the Titan Watch Company, and Geeta landed her position with Infosys.
After coming to Bangalore, I mean, we had plans that, this is how we'd live, like we had dreamed about it in Coimbatore. In fact, it's been a better dream after coming. I mean, the reality is better than the dream.
Today, Geeta makes more money in her job than they both made together back in Coimbatore. They've spent a lot on new conveniences: a blender and a rice grinder, a washing machine, new furniture, a new TV and their first VCR, even their first car. The Kannans have gained a lot in Bangalore, but they've also had to give up some things that they used to enjoy.
Yeah, this is the only time we are together at home for a longer period of time, and this lunch is one which we look forward for the whole of this week. In Coimbatore, we used to have a lot of time for ourselves, a lot of time for cooking. We were very happy. There was the thinking to life got changed. To that circumstance of what we were operating in Coimbatore, we were very happy. Coming here, it's like more of an ambitious kind of thinking.
It's changed our lifestyles. We were happy then, but now we've changed our lifestyle, we're happy now.
Here, okay, you have guests coming at home and you would like to impress them, literally show off what you are. And that kind of a feeling wasn't there in Coimbatore. We never wanted to show off what we were. So I guess our ambitions and aspirations also keep going up. So I don't know, it's going to stop or it's just started. but we are enjoying it. That's it. Me as a citizen, me as a person who would like to work in companies and earn money for my living, I think the future is very, very bright. And it's not only bright, it also gives a sense of pride for this country and for the people of India that they've started realizing that there is a tremendous potential here in this country. We're very proud here, we're very proud and very optimistic, and we're feeling great.
Emerging Powers is supported by IBM.
And by the Ford Motor Company, where quality is job one.